I think there's so many of us that have this belief that I am wrong, and it's associated with this great fear and nervous system dysregulation. So I was having a discussion with a client yesterday, and I wanted to just talk through some things that came up and then some further thoughts that I've had about this to allow us to soothe that story of being wrong. And the reason that I chose the word soothe is because it's not like we're trying to extract that from our body or not totally even release it. And it's more of a transmutation of how we perceive this idea of being wrong. So we all are human and we all make mistakes, right? So how can we be okay with that? Because it's probably not likely that we'll ever not be wrong at some point in our life. So how can we change the story that we have about being wrong? So we're simply soothing that story of being wrong and letting it be something that is not okay. So one place we started with this story of being wrong is allowing that to be the path forward. So this is the concept of the obstacle being the way, or the obstacle being the path forward. So we're really being willing to lean into this story of being wrong, and just being curious about it, and seeing if we can recreate a new relationship with making mistakes and being wrong. So that's kind of where we started. And then I wanted to just note, like on a nervous system level, what is happening in bodies who have a fearful response to being wrong. So I am so deeply familiar with this. It's something that I've worked with and continue to work with, this idea of being wrong. And it was just a beautiful story to kind of come back to this idea of being wrong. I think so many of us have it. So basically, our bodies create a meaning when we have experiences. So perhaps if you can imagine yourself as a child and you make a mistake. So maybe you're like pouring some milk and some milk gets spilled. Or maybe you're taking a test and you don't get a perfect score, right? So there's these situations where we can make a mistake or be wrong. Now, what creates the meaning and that body level response is how we experience that event, right? So spilling milk, for example, maybe our caregiver gets really angry and shouts and puts us on a timeout, or there's some sort of punishment involved. Well, you can imagine that if that's the response to a mistake or being wrong, that it's very scary for us. So then our body begins to take on the meaning, well, if I'm wrong or if I make a mistake, I lose connection with my caregiver, I am punished, and it becomes this very scary thing. Whereas the other side of that could be that you spill the milk and your caregiver says, oh, that's okay. Let's clean it up together, right? And so it's no big deal, and you're still connected, and it's a less fearful event. Likewise, you can think of different ways that could occur with exam scores, right? How you could either lose connection or remain connected. So if we have had experiences in childhood where we are wrong or make a mistake, and there's a scary, disconnected sort of response, then our body's going to take on this meaning that making a mistake is life-threatening, right? Because losing connection as a child from our caregiver is literally life-threatening. We need that connection to survive because we can't care for ourselves. So I just want to point this out because it's so important to realize the meaning and the body response that we're having to making a mistake or doing something wrong. It's scary. And so we go into fight or flight, or maybe we go into freeze and our body is like freaking out. So what we can do is just really begin to lean in to this story of being wrong and create a whole new body response to it. So it takes a willingness to experience being wrong and being intentional in creating a different meaning around it. So Mastin Kipp is a coach who has talked about creating disconfirming experiences. So when we have had traumatic events in childhood, or we've experienced childhood trauma like this, where we make a mistake and it's scary, that kind of creates childhood trauma, right? So what we need to create is a disconfirming experience where we make a mistake, we are wrong, and there's a different result, meaning that we remain connected, meaning that we remain loving and compassionate. And most often that's us giving that disconfirming experience to ourselves, and we can also create it beyond ourselves in relationship with coaches and colleagues and other people that we're working with, right? So moving on from there, basically what you can actually do to soothe that story of being wrong and create a whole new experience for yourself is to intentionally take internal actions and external actions that create a different result, and where you intentionally create a different meaning and a different body response when you make that mistake or when you are wrong, right? So like I said, it takes a willingness to lean in and make those mistakes and be compassionate with yourself and be with yourself in a whole new way, so that your body learns to not have a fight or fight response when you make a mistake or you are wrong, right? So let's talk about some internal actions that you can take. So one really great action is self-forgiveness. Intentionally pausing when a mistake is made, or when you notice a mistake, or even going back into your history, into past mistakes that you've made, and being really intentional about forgiving yourself and being really compassionate with yourself for those mistakes that you've made. So this can be done kind of on the fly as things happen, or you can have a daily practice of self-forgiveness where you are, you're maybe do it along with meditation. So you're creating a regulated nervous system state and revisiting the actions of being wrong while you are in that state, so that you can be wrong in present and be regulated at the same time. So that's the internal action you can take. And an external action you can take, which this is a really cool idea, is to look at how you are with other people. Because our brain doesn't really distinguish between a response that's towards other and towards the self. So when we can be really present with being forgiving and noticing wrongs of others and noticing that we still love and care for them and are willing to be connected to them when they are wrong, then it's another way of teaching our body that when something goes wrong or when there's a mistake, we are choosing connection, compassion, and love and forgiveness, right? So when you practice this towards other people, which is sometimes an easier place to start if you have trouble doing it for yourself, you can envision, or you can even do this like in meditation, envision your child. How would you want to respond to your child? Envision a friend, a loved one, a sister, brother, family member. How would you, or even someone you're working with, how would you want to respond to them? How do you respond to them when they make a mistake? You're loving and you're compassionate. When you are conscious about this and you are intentional and you see that you're taking an action in this way, you are bringing that habit, that reaction into the consciousness, and that's where you can really begin to change your response, change that body level response. So you are seeing that there's wrong, there's a mistake, and I am compassionate and I am connected. And when you give that to somebody else, know that you are also giving it to yourself. So I think that intentionality added to the external action of being forgiving towards someone else is what's really going to make that a powerful action that will inform you that I am someone who is calm, connected, regulated, and loving when something goes wrong. I would love to hear your thoughts about this. And this is the powerful work that we do within the Loving Impact Practice. The Loving Impact Practice is a 6-month program that supports parent entrepreneurs and coaches to create clients and create their business and their life from a place of love, from a place of integration and joy, so that you are, intuitive and bringing love and service to every action that you take, not only in your business, but also for your family. And it creates like a powerful life for you. So if you want to dive deeper into this work and see how this might show up and the exact actions that you could take for your story of being wrong or your story about failure, then this is the place you want to be. There are so seriously inspiring and powerful coaches and service providers in this container. There's so much love and compassion, and you can even do this practice within the safety of a container. It's a hybrid group and one-on-one program. I would love for you to be there. Reach out if you want to learn more, and we will chat about it. I love you so much. Let me know what you thought about this video and if you're going to try these actions for yourself. Take care.